It bought us Pathankot. It bought us Uri. It bought us Pulwama. We learned a hard lesson, Mr. President. You cannot shame a state that has no shame.
Pakistan has a long and well-documented history of using non-state terrorist proxies against India.
This is the very same Pakistan which, at the UN Security Council on 25th April 2025, shielded the Resistance Front, a Pakistani-sponsored terror outfit, from the responsibility of carrying out the barbaric massacre of tourists in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
The upcoming next generation of India leaves no stone unturned when it comes to showing Pakistan its true colors, its reality of terror. In a debate that took place on November 27, 2025, a day after the Mumbai terror attack 26/11 anniversary, Viraansh Bhanushali countered arguments in a debate against Pakistani Oxford Union President Moosa Harraj, who claimed that India's Pakistan policies were driven by electoral optics. In response to this, Bhanushali listed India's reaction to all the several attacks so far, starting from the 26/11 Mumbai attacks to calibrated military action following the Pahalgam terror attack.
In plain terms, I stand here to tell you that not only is this claim false, but it is a fundamental misreading of my country's reality. And I do so not just as a member of the Oxford Union, but as a Mumbaiker, but as someone who has lived through the consequences of the India-Pakistan saga in his own home and heart. Yesterday was 26/11, November 26th, which in my city is not an ordinary date on the calendar. It marks the day when, in 2008, 10 terrorists stormed across iconic sites across my hometown, unleashing 3 days of bloodshed. One of those targets was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus, the very station that my aunt passed through almost every evening. By chance or by providence, she took a different train home that night, narrowly escaping the fate of the 166 souls that did not. Another target was the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, where my best friend's father, a major in the National Security Guard, was one of the first commandos to rappel into a burning inferno. It sounds like someone telling you that the locks on your doors are just for show, not because there are robberies in the neighborhood. But before we delve deeper into that notion, let me first address the 3 gentlemen arrayed against me. A rather formidable proposition bench, if there ever was one. They say this house loves a good show. My opponents have certainly delivered on the casting. First, we have our union president, Mr. Moosa Harraj, leading the charge for the proposition. Moosa is not only the president of this union, he's also a Pakistani by birth and a very, very dear friend of mine. In fact, as his chief of staff, I've spent months working with him, which makes tonight a tad bit awkward, because technically, I'm supposed to make him look good. But here I am, last night, writing his speech for him. The motion asserts that India's policy towards Pakistan is populism disguised as security policy. In other words, that India cynically fashions its Pakistan strategy just to win votes or applause rather than to genuinely protect itself. As the first speaker of the opposition, I reject this wholeheartedly. I will show you, step by step, how India's policy is primarily driven by legitimate security concerns and not cheap populism. And in doing so, I shall also flip the mirror to our friends, because if any nation has suffered from the leaders who wrap themselves in the flag for popularity, it isn't India, it is Pakistan. The proposition's argument is seductive. It suggests that the Indian states manufacture its threats. We invent boogeymen, that we use the border as a ballot box to whip up votes. They argue that when India strikes back, we're not protecting our citizens, we're performing for them. To win this debate, I do not need to use rhetoric. I simply need to use a calendar. If the proposition is true, if the Indian security policy is just populism, then crises should corroborate with the elections. The bomb should go off when the polls open. Let us look at the data and let us be inductive. I grew up in the heart of Mumbai. My home was not too far from where in March 1993, RDX explosives ripped through Plaza Cinema. It was a part of a coordinated series of 12 blasts that turned my city into a morgue. 257 people died. I was not born there, but I grew up with the crater it left in our psyche. Now ask yourself, was there an election in March 1993? No. That election was 3 years away. Was the government looking for a populist distraction? No. The government was weak. The economy was opening up and we were desperate for stability. Terror did not come because we needed a vote. It came because Dawood and the ISI wanted to fracture India's financial spine. That was not populism. That was an act of war. I remember my aunt once again, vividly, traveling through Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus. She pulled out of the train station at 9:27 p.m. and the terrorists entered at 9:30. 3 minutes is the difference between my aunt watching from home tonight and her being engraved in a memorial stone in South Bombay. 10 men held the city of 20 million hostage. Now look at the policy response. The proposition says that India is populist. What would a populist government do after 26/11? The public rage was nuclear. I remember it. We wanted blood. We wanted the Air Force to flatten the training camps in Mudarke. A populist leader would have just launched the jets to win the next election. But the government of the day, the Congress party, chose strategic restraint. They chose diplomacy. They chose to send dossiers. They appealed to the international community. They appealed to you. Did it work? Did it buy us? Did the non-populist approach buy us peace? No. It bought us Pathankot. It bought us Uri. It bought us Pulwama. We learned a hard lesson, Mr. President. You cannot shame a state that has no shame. Let's move to the present. 6 months ago, the proposition claims the skirmishes this May were electioneering. Check the dates. The elections for the Indian General Parliament were over. The government was secure. Apologies. The government was secure. On 22nd of April, terrorists from the Resistance Front, a cheap rebrand of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, attacked tourists in Pahalgam. They dragged out 26 people and killed them for their religion. They didn't ask who they voted for. They executed them. India's response, Operation Sindoor, was launched on the 7th of May. Note the name, Sindoor, the vermilion mark of a Hindu wife. It was not Operation Thunder or Operation Wrath. It was named for the widows created by that massacre. It was a surgical dismantling of 9 launch pads. We degraded radar systems in Lahore. We punished the perpetrators. And then what? We stopped. We did not invade. We did not occupy. We did not hold a parade in Delhi. We re-established deterrence and went back to work. That is not populism. That is professionalism. The proposition confuses popular with populist. Yes, Mr. President, defending your citizens from being murdered is popular. Providing clean water is popular. Keeping the railways safe is popular. That does not make it a trick. Populism is promising easy answers to complex problems. Security is doing the hard, expensive, dangerous work of ensuring that a child in Dadar can go to the cinema without being blown up. But if you want to see the actual populism disguised as security, you must only look across the Radcliffe line. When India launched Operation Sindoor, how did Pakistan respond? Did it fix its security gaps? No. Operation Bunyan al-Masus was launched. The solid cemented wall, a Quranic reference designed not for tactical efficacy, but for religious mobilization. You launched missiles at our bases in Udhampur, had them shot down, had 11 bases struck, and achieved at best a tactical stalemate. And then, after all of that, what do? You release a music video. The ISPR, your military's PR wing, released an anthem, Dharkan Pe Ek Hi Naam, Pakistan. Mr. President, when India fights a war, we debrief the pilots. In Pakistan, they auto-tune the chorus. You held victory rallies on the 16th of May. You declared a national holiday. Why? Because you cannot give your people bread, so you must give them the circus. You cannot fix the price of flour, so you fixate on the Indian threat. You need the enemy of the gate. Without the Indian monster, your own people may turn around and ask why generals own Papa John's franchises while the country defaults on its loans. That is populism. That is the alchemy of turning public poverty into private power with the specter of war. When you vote for this motion, you are telling the widows of Pahalgam that their grief is just a prop for the government. You are telling my parents sitting right there that the fear that they felt when the windows shook in 93, or the panic they felt when my aunt didn't answer the phone in 2008 was just a disguise. It's easy to deconstruct security policy in the Oxford Union. Our walls are thick, our windows are well plastered. The world feels safe. We can debate narratives and discourse over potent trees, but out there in the real world, the wolf is at the door. India has decided to stop feeding the wolf. We've decided to stop sending it dossiers. We have decided to shoot it. That is not populism. That is the biological imperative of a nation that refuses to die. We do not want war. We want to be boring neighbors. We want to trade onions and electricity. We want to play your cricket team without worrying if the away team is bringing bats to C4. But until the state that defends itself stops using terror as an instrument of foreign policy, we will keep our powder dry, we will keep our radars on, and we will keep our guards up. If that is populism, then I am a populist. If that is a disguise, then I will wear it, because the alternative is not liberalism. The alternative is 2611 on repeat. Tonight, I may have been belligerent in defending my country's stance, but I also hope that I've been fair and factual. I do not hate Pakistan. I truly wish to see a Pakistan that is safe, stable, prosperous, and at peace with us. I dream of a day where I could take a train from Mumbai to Lahore and have kebabs in Gawar Mandi, or when the Indian cricket team captain and the Pakistani cricket team captain can joke about their schools, their kids' schools, because politics has ceased to matter. I'm an idealist by heart, but unfortunately, I am a realist by circumstance. But for that day to come, we must first deal in truth. And the truth is, calling India's Pakistan policy populism in disguise is a dangerous distortion. It implies that we're all just play acting, that there's no wolf on the door, but there is. Recognizing this wolf doesn't mean we should keep living in fear of it. It just means that we need to know that to have the bigger stick when you're trying to build the bigger fence. Perhaps in a not so distant future, a young debater from Mumbai and a young debater from Lahore, Quetta or Peshawar will stand here not to argue about war and policy, but to argue about who has the better music or who has the better biryani. Obviously, the answer to both is India.
Viraansh Bhanushali is a BA in Jurisprudence, LLB, English Law with Law Studies in Europe at St. Peter's College, University of Oxford. He is also an alumnus of NES International School, Mumbai, where he serves as Chief of Staff to the Oxford Union President. Additionally, he has held roles such as International Officer and Deputy Returning Officer at the Union and has interned at India's Solicitor General's Office. During a hearing for the House Foreign Affairs South and Central Asia Subcommittee titled The US-India Strategic Partnership Securing a Free and Open Indo-Pacific, Observer Research Foundation America's Executive Director Dhruva Jaishankar raised concerns on how India-US ties are in turmoil due to the US renewed engagement with Pakistan's military leadership. This is not the first time India has called out Pakistan for its unruly governance.
The second challenge in India relates to the United States' renewed engagement with Pakistan's military leadership. Pakistan has a long and well-documented history of using non-state terrorist proxies against India. As a result over many years, India's experience is that third-party mediation has often contributed to Pakistan's adventurism. And so the United States has pursued a policy of dehyphenation between India and Pakistan, engaging with both, but minimizing involvement in their disputes.
On September 27, 2025, exercising the right of reply on Pakistan PM Shehbaz Sharif's speech, First Secretary in India's permanent mission to the UN, Petal Gahlot, slammed Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
Mr. President, this assembly witnessed absurd theatrics in the morning from the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who once again glorified terrorism that is so central to their foreign policy. However, no degree of drama and no level of lies can conceal the facts. This is the very same Pakistan which, at the UN Security Council on 25th April 2025, shielded the Resistance Front, a Pakistani-sponsored terror outfit, from the responsibility of carrying out the barbaric massacre of tourists in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. President, a country long steeped in the tradition of deploying and exporting terrorism has no shame in advancing the most ludicrous narratives to that end. Let us recall that it sheltered Osama bin Laden for a decade, even while pretending to partner in the war against terrorism. Its ministers have just recently acknowledged that they have been operating terrorist camps for decades. It should come as no surprise that once again this duplicity continues, this time at the level of its Prime Minister. A picture speaks 1,000 words, and we saw many pictures of terrorists slain in Bahawalpur and Muridke terror complexes by Indian forces during Operation Sindoor. When senior Pakistani military and civilian officials publicly glorify and pay homage to such notorious terrorists, can there be any doubt about the proclivities of this regime? The Prime Minister of Pakistan also advanced a bizarre account of the recent conflict with India. The record on this matter is clear. Till 9th May, Pakistan was threatening more attacks on India, but on 10th May, its military pleaded with us directly for a cessation to the fighting. The intervening event was the destruction caused to multiple Pakistani air bases by Indian forces. The pictures of that damage are, of course, publicly accessible. If destroyed runways and burnt out hangars look like victory, as the Prime Minister claimed, Pakistan is welcome to enjoy it. The truth is that, as in the past, Pakistan is responsible for a terrorist attack on innocent civilians in India. We have exercised the right to defend our people against such actions and have brought the organizers and perpetrators to justice. The Pakistani Prime Minister has spoken about wanting peace with India. If he is indeed sincere, the pathway is clear. Pakistan must immediately shut down all terrorist camps and hand over to us terrorists wanted in India. It is also ironic that a country which wallows in hate, bigotry, and intolerance should preach to this assembly on matters of faith. The political and public discourse of Pakistan reflects its true nature. Clearly, a look by them at the mirror is long overdue. Mr. President, India and Pakistan have long agreed that any outstanding issue between them will be addressed bilaterally. There is no room for any third party in that regard. This is our long-standing national position. Where terrorism is concerned, we are making it clear that there will be no distinction between the terrorists and their sponsors. Both will be held accountable. Nor will we allow terrorism to be practiced under the cover of a nuclear blackmail. India will never bow to such threats. India's message to the world is clear. There must be zero tolerance for terrorism.
All these upcoming diplomats and the rising youth of India who are representing their country globally are making sure to showcase a sincere and serious side of their political responsibility. They have shown accounts of Pakistan's covert strategies, their destructive and orchestrated or supported terror activities, which left the world dumbstruck. This is Pakistan and their attacks that changed the world order. The image of geopolitics has been shaken and tarnished by the terror tactics of one nation for more than 2 decades. Pakistan has been the face of terror for time and beyond. From jetting into the Twin Towers in 2001, commonly known as the Twin Tower attack, to the traumatic massacre of April 22, 2025, in India's heaven on earth, Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. The world has witnessed not just tragedy, but unyielding resilience. Pakistan's terror campaigns, mostly linked with groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, have strained international relations and left a fear of threat in the hearts of people globally. The big doubt remains, will Pakistan ever bring in the light of peace to its own nation and to the world, or will it always choose to profit from terror?